Dear humans, I stand here today not for myself, but for every tail wagger, sloppy kisser, and curtain ninja. I stand here for each one of the thousands of dogs and cats killed in shelters each day, asking you to join our cause and help us make sure every best friend has a chance to meet one of their own. With Best Friends Animal Society leading the charge, and your help, we can save them all.
Thank you for joining us for Pet Connect. I'm Tara Douglas. Today we're going to talk about something that affects every community, every shelter, every rescue, and that's spaying and neutering our pets. The reality of it is that we have about 6 million dogs and cats that end up in shelters across the U.S. each year. And spaying and neutering our pets could obviously reduce that significantly. But also think about that large number. When we think about the animals that never make it to the shelter, when you see all of the dogs and cats roaming around wild or just stray in the town and they don't make it to the shelter, that 6 million number could be twice that much. And so that's where we've got to be more responsible and think about what we're going to do to fix this problem and to reduce the number. Because it's such a strain on shelters across the U.S. Most states have a lot of laws that can prevent that big number of animals going into the shelter. So a lot of states are able to achieve a no-kill status with their shelter. And that means 90% of the animals that come in and out of the shelter are able to go to a home. And when you look at the states where the euthanasia rate is the worst, there are 5 states out there, and of course, Alabama is one of those 5. And so that's where we've really got to start changing people's mindset about spaying and neutering and understanding that that is something that is so crucial to help this problem. And there's so many things when you think about what happens when you spay and neuter, how does it help? You know, a lot of people, there are common myths where people think that their animal will get fat or get lazy if they spay and neuter it. Now, of course, that the only reason an animal is going to get fat is if they don't get exercise and if they don't eat, if they eat too much. So that's just a myth. Don't think about that when you're trying to decide if you're going to get your animal fixed. They also think that it'll change the animal's personality, and that's also not true, that your animal's going to have the same personality before a spay or neuter as they do after. They just might be a calmer dog and not want to roam and not leave home and have all these behavioral issues. So if you think about the things that spaying and neutering can help, then of course your dog will roam around less, especially a male dog. When there's a female in heat, a male dog's going to roam all over the place. And also you can think about these stressful spay cycles that your female dog has. They'll no longer have those. But when we talk about a dog roaming the streets, we actually have a leash law here in Sylacauga. So if you look up our municipal codes and you look up all of our ordinances, we have a leash law. We also have a law that if you have a dog in heat, if you have a female dog in heat, you can get fined if that dog is roaming out and about. So a lot of people don't realize that we have these different laws on the books. So look it up. It's under the Sylacauga Municipal Code, and you can see the different laws that we have. It's also state law to have a rabies shot. So make sure that your animals have those rabies shots. Make sure that they have their rabies tag. So if you are out and about with your animal, you've got to have them, of course, on leash, or if they're in your yard, they have to be contained. But they also need to have proof of that rabies, because if they do get picked up by the shelter, or if they end up at the shelter, somebody takes them there, you will have to prove that you have that rabies shot before you can get your animal back. And so, and that circles back around to this whole spaying and neutering situation. The shelter is very full. They are at capacity, and the shelter staff, they are overworked. The volunteers are overworked. So if we can get more spaying and neutering, then we will not have that problem at the shelter. So if we always need volunteers, and the shelter always needs supplies too. So please look at the shelter's Facebook page. They always post the things that they need. They generally need wet puppy food. They need wet adult dog food. They need the canned cat food. They need cleaning supplies. They always run out of Clorox. So if you've got the time and you've got the money, and you'd like to contribute to that, You can either order it and send it to them, or you can drop it off there at the shelter. But also, if you would like to volunteer in other ways, the shelter is very short-staffed, and they're currently really short-staffed. And so we've had people going and cleaning the dog dishes for them. You know, there are only certain things that volunteers can do, and it'd be a safe situation at the shelter. So you're not there cleaning out kennels or anything like that, but you can help them do other things while they take care of the animals directly themselves. And you can always join us on Saturdays to walk the dogs. We're there every Saturday. For the summer months, we're there 9:30 to 11:30. So come on out and you can help us walk the dogs, and that gives them so much pleasure to be able to get out and walk around. Now, getting back to the common myths of spaying and neutering, a lot of people think that it costs way too much to get their animals fixed. But we have a spay and neuter voucher sale coming up, and you pay $30 for that voucher. It's for dogs and cats, and we hold it at PetSense every time, so we're there at PetSense from 9 to 11, or at least until we run out. And we do hold it for Talladega and Coosa County residents. We cannot take a check, or we cannot take a credit card, but we can only take cash and check. So make sure that you are there and you are ready to give one or the other. And that is a very good cost. That's only used at Alabama Spay and Neuter in Irondale. So we get these questions all the time. So I wanted to go over the entire procedure so everyone can be more knowledgeable if you need to come and get the spay and neuter voucher. You come and line up, get there early because the doors open at 9, and we usually have a line all the way down the shopping center. And the line goes pretty fast though, so don't drive up and get frustrated. I've had people walk in and see the line and they're like, I don't have time for this. It goes really fast. So it's more important, please, to get that spay and neuter voucher and get your dog fixed or your cat fixed than to have maybe 15 minutes of your time that you have to stand in a line. But those $30 vouchers, you'll get an information sheet while you're there. And like I said, it's just for Alabama Spay and Neuter. And they do have a transport that comes to Sylacauga. So again, if you're thinking, I can't get up to Irondale, you can certainly make an appointment and go at your own time, do what you like with that. But they have a transport that comes down. It meets at Home Depot, so you do have to be there really early one morning to get it on that transport. And they take care of everything. So you bring your cat in a carrier. They do have large carriers for dogs if you don't have a large carrier. And you hand them the dog, you have all of your paperwork. The dog, they drive them to Irondale, they get fixed, and the next morning they come back and you once again pick them up at Home Depot. So they've really taken a lot of the stress out of trying to get your dog in and out up there. And that's what they do all day long. So I've had some people worry, should they send their animals there? They do a wonderful job spaying and neutering, and that is their mission, is to try to get as many animals spayed and neutered in Alabama. Now, there are additional costs, so keep that in mind, and there's information on the sheet when you come to get your voucher. You do have to either have proof of rabies, or you will have to get a rabies shot for your animal while the animal's there, and that's an additional cost. You also have a small charge for the transport itself. So if you choose the transport route, there will be that cost there. And if you have an animal that's older, they may have to do some blood work. So you can contact the Feral Dogs of Avondale Mill to ask us. We are the ones that put on the spay and neuter voucher sale, so make sure you contact us and not the shelter or PetSense. They do not have all the information. PetSense is so nice and gracious for allowing us to come there and to have the adoption event there, but they don't have all the information, so please don't clog their phone lines up asking questions about it. And of course the shelter, like we said, they are full at capacity all the time, quite busy, so make sure that you just contact us directly. So you can email the Feral Dogs of Avondale Mill at gmail.com, or you're welcome to message us on Facebook, and we're happy to get you any information you need so you can learn about what you can do. We also have the ability to try to find help for you if you do not have a vehicle, if you can't get to the transport. We can work on finding a volunteer to come and help you out. If you have trouble even with the $30, then we can see what we can do to help. So don't hold back and not get your animals fixed, because that can be a huge problem. I mean, I've got the stats right here. I'll make sure that I read those stats. So if you have a cat that's not fixed, that cat can start going into heat at 4 to 5 months old. And a cat can typically have 2 to 3 litters per year. And that's like 20 kittens per year typically. It could be more than that, could be less. But if you think about that many cats coming from a single cat per year, then in 7 years, that could be 370,000 cats that come from that one cat that you chose not to get fixed. So please, please let us know if you need help with it. We've got to stop this huge number of cats coming out of the community and trying to get into the shelter or getting into the adoption world. And a dog can only have usually 2 litters per year. But if you think about that, in a reproductive cycle of a dog, there could be hundreds of dogs coming from one dog. So again, if you think about the packs of dogs that live at Home Depot or at Walmart and Hobby Lobby, those dogs they're having a hard time trapping them, hard time catching them because they're very savvy. People feed them all the time. So the shelter is constantly putting out information about not feeding those animals right now. We've got to try to get them because if they keep having puppies, think about how many that can be. And we've got to stop it. So make sure you support the shelter with that. You watch them, see if they've got traps out, and just allow them to do their jobs trying to reduce that population of wild dogs around here. Because again, we don't need hundreds of puppies roaming around the streets, and we do have that right now. So let's talk about what happens with some of these dogs because we are not spaying and neutering. We've got everything from dogs ending up at the shelter as puppies that grow up at the shelter. We simply don't have enough people to adopt them here in the community. And our rescues are not taking as many dogs from us, and those are rescues in other states. And that's another question I have a lot of people ask me is why can other states take these dogs? Well, quite frankly, it's because other states have much better laws than we do here in Alabama. They don't have stray dogs roaming around. Now, I don't know their stats for feral cats, but that's another thing altogether. But you do not see stray dogs and dogs roaming around in a lot of our states. We see them all the time around here, and I think that people don't realize that it's not like that in other places. But because they don't have that, their shelters aren't full. Their rescues can pull from other states like us, like Alabama. But in the past, we were able to get up to 1,600 dogs, mainly dogs and some cats, out of Sylacauga per year. But now we're not able to get that many out of here. We've reduced that number significantly, sadly, because these states aren't taking as many animals from us. So we don't have the people to adopt here. So that's why it's even more important to do that spaying and neutering and make sure that we don't end up with these hundreds of dogs and cats roaming the streets. So like I was saying, you can have puppies enter the foster system. We always need more fosters because we do have some rescues in Florida, and we've got a rescue in New York and New Jersey also that will periodically take dogs from us. So if we've got the foster system, we can have dogs ready for them. You can foster even adult dogs from the shelter if you would like to do that, to try to help with that. But we definitely have the foster route. We've got, of course, anytime you see any post on Facebook, please share it because we would like to find homes for all these animals. And we've got our pet of the week here. This is Rupert. Rupert is, again, a pup that was roaming the streets in Center Point Acres, and someone finally brought him to the shelter. He's been at the shelter for over 1.5 years now. He is a delightful dog. He loves people, he loves kids, he walks really great on a leash, he loves other dogs. We take him to every adoption event, but we would desperately love to find a home for Rupert. So come on out to the shelter to meet him, take him for a walk. He is a big dog, but like I said, he is so gentle on walks. I mean, everybody loves to walk Rupert. So come out to meet him. Please come this Saturday if you can. And you can see a lot of our other animals that are walked. Here's a family that comes out and walks puppies all the time, and they have taken puppies for Doggy Day Out too. So this little dog is an example of needing spay and neutering, just like we're talking about. There's a whole litter of puppies that go with this pup right here. And this particular family love to come out. Elizabeth and Matthew take those pups out every weekend and try to get them out. And then like I said, they took one home for a Doggy Day Out. So they are working so hard to try to find homes for these animals that are at the shelter. Now here's a sad example of what can happen when people don't spay and neuter. This is Timber and Twig and a puppy that's got mange right there. This was 15 dogs that were dumped in the woods in Weguffka. And luckily, all the puppies have gone to New York. They've all been adopted. Twig there on the left, the little Chihuahua mix, and Timber are our fosters. Twig just got adopted on Sunday, so she was with us 4 months before we found her a home. And Timber is now adjusting at our house, and he's still available for adoption. But if we had spaying and neutering, we wouldn't have a situation like this. And here's 3 puppies at the shelter that are growing up at the shelter. They're very sweet, very cute puppies. They're also available for adoption. I didn't make them pets of the week, but they are going to be puppies that are too big for us to potentially get to rescue. And sadly, they're going to grow up at the shelter if we don't find a home for them. So, and here's a puppy that came to the shelter injured, had 2 broken legs, a broken pelvis. We don't know what happened to that puppy. Someone in Florida, one of the rescues, saw the post we did about it. Now that puppy's in Florida. And so, you can see it's just one thing after another. So, and here's 2 puppies that the Vincent family found on the side of the road, and they agreed to foster. So we're so happy to have people in our community like them who are willing to take that extra step. And these puppies are now in Florida, and they have likely been adopted. I haven't followed up yet. And here's our current foster. This is Osborne Cox. He was dumped most likely around the corner from the shelter. Like I said, the shelter's overrun, and people will come by, and if they can't take it, they end up just driving around where they get cover of the trees, and they just dump the dogs. And this little skinny dog was found by one of our volunteers, and so now we're nursing him back to health, and hopefully we can get him to Florida too. So the story here is we need homes for these dogs. We need a home for Rupert right here, and we need everybody in the community to spay and neuter so that we can stop all of these stories that I just told you, stop the overcapacity at the shelter, and come on out Saturday, September 6th. So it's not this weekend, but next weekend, and let's get some more of those vouchers sold. Let's get some more animals in Sylacauga spayed and neutered. And thank you so much for joining us for Pet Connect. We'll have more Daybreak after these messages, and we'll see you next week.